But here's a tip. The only reason anyone wants to build a coal-fired power station in Australia today is because they're betting one of two things is going to happen. Either in 5 years' time there's going to be a zero price for carbon, in which their coal-fired power station makes sense, or B, that if they build something that everyone knows we don't need, they'll get compensated. That's it. It's really simple. So we can tackle this climate change thing tomorrow. Literally. All we need Kevin Rudd to stand up and do, as step one, is to say anyone that buys anything dumb or builds anything dumb from tomorrow, good luck. You want to waste your money building a $7 billion coal-fired power station? Build it. We'll speed up the development process for you. And if there's a price of carbon and you go broke, you explain it to your shareholders. Why Greenpeace is running around trying to stop people, stop capitalists risking billions of dollars in dumb investment decisions, I don't know. I'd be cheering them on. Yeah, build it, build it. But can you just sign this one paragraph contract that says we promise not to whinge and moan and come cap in hand asking for compensation when the world does what it says it's been going to do for the last 20 years? Same deal. You want to go build you want to go build something that is inappropriate, that's fine. But that's the wonderful thing about capitalism. You risk your capital. They're not risking anything. They're betting that they can lobby effectively to prevent change, and they're betting when they lose that eventually that they'll get their hand out and they'll get all their money back. That's what's going on. Step one, one page, one paragraph contracts with anyone that wants to build anything dumb. We'll just sign that away. Step two, we'll have a $1 per tonne price of carbon. We'll kick it in tomorrow. It'll be trivial. And we'll say it's going to go up steadily and we don't know where it's going to stop. The price is no longer zero, but rather than arguing for another 20 years about what the price will be, we've already said the price has just made the magical leap from zero to positive, and the longer the argument goes on, the higher the price will be. We'll get certainty on a carbon price in no time. So, yes, there's uncertainty, yes, there's ambiguity, but the underlying policy principles that we need to address climate change are thuddingly simple. They're boring. I've been talking about them for 15 years. I'm not alone. You need to charge polluters for the damage they do. Everyone knows that. The politics of making it happen are really hard. The politics, the science of getting it spot on first time round are very hard. But they're phony arguments. We don't need to do either of those two things. Let me just end with a little metaphor. Imagine that we were on a plane flying from Sydney to Auckland, and, well, I was the pilot, so that's scary enough. And we get lost. All the navigation aids are gone. We don't know where we are precisely. But we've figured out that we're not actually heading to Auckland at all. We're heading to Antarctica. We don't want to go to Antarctica. We're going to run out of fuel. Should we head for Sydney or should we head for Auckland? Well, we don't quite know where we are, but we know we're heading for Antarctica. Do you start to turn the plane around and then figure out where to go? Or do you have a very long conversation about where you might want to go while you keep heading for Antarctica? I don't know where we're going to get to. I don't know precisely how we're going to get there, but it's pretty obvious what's going to happen unless we start to make some major changes. Thank you.
Richard, if it's any help, I've got a pilot's license. I actually do. And another small thing is, although I'm the patron of Sustainable Population Australia, I recommend you have 3 more children to keep you awake all night, because that was excellent for a man on 2 hours sleep. Now, okay. First question is down here at the front. I'm sorry, the first question, you've missed your mic. The second question's down there. The first question's with Bob Douglas.
Bob Douglas, and we've had a fantastic array of presentations, very, very gloomy. And it's, as the three speakers were presenting, but particularly with Richard, I asked myself, what will turn this around? And of course, the only thing that turns humans around is a war. When
you reckon we're gloomy, Bob?
So my question really to you, Richard, is who should Kevin Rudd declare war on? Should it be economists? Should it be climate change? Should it be Gaia? Or what?
All right, simple answer, a war on lobbyists. The solutions, as I said, are simple. The politics are hard. Do you really think that until 6 months ago in the Prime Minister's office in Canberra, there was a whole bunch of people poring over all the climate change evidence going, I still remain somewhat unconvinced? I mean, people have known what's been going on for a long time. For whatever reason, the politics of change has just been too hard for them. There will be losers. And, you know, once again, there's some simple solutions to that. Once upon a time, it was illegal, it was a crime to traffic milk across borders. And this was a crime in 1999. It was illegal to traffic milk across borders. And then we introduced something called deregulation. And now what happens is efficient milk producers in Queensland can sell cheaper milk to New South Wales and Victoria than the New South Wales and Victorian dairy producers could ever produce. However, because we had something called the National Party, it cost $8 billion in bribes to buy off dairy farmers to end that monopoly. So what? We got a good change. We gave some money to people who didn't deserve it. We do that all the time. There will be losers from climate change. We know how to fix that in politics. You pay them off. You know, so yeah, declare a war on lobbyists because they've been very effective at preventing change.
We've got a mic over here. I'm governed by the Goldies and by God they're hard.
I too was somewhat depressed by what I heard. We're obviously more stupid than I figured we were. I'd like to ask, perhaps Mary White should answer this one. Does Gaia have a very sophisticated program which is really designed to wipe us out whether we like it or not?
Well, that's... Would you like to put it?
I think the answer is no. I think if we're stupid enough to wipe ourselves out, don't blame Gaia.
And I might add, don't blame God.
Thanks, Richard. Monica Richter. I'm also an economist, but don't hold that against me. And I'm also a lobbyist for the ACF, but I think I'm on the side of the good guys. I think climate change is an issue that can be solved, but obviously the equity issue and the economic growth paradigm is something that we're all trying to grapple with. And I'd be interested if you had, sort of, what are the top 3 things that we in Australia, that the Rudd government could do that could help us to decouple from this notion of economic growth?
Well, look, I don't think any government's going to stand up and announce that they've just decoupled it, but what we need to do is step them in the right direction, you know, to keep, put it this way, Howard never took office and said, right, I've got this cunning plan to massively change the institutions of Australia such that, you know, we're going to, you know, we're going to shift resources away from you know, low-income people. We're going to water down Medicare. You never say what you're going to do. He said, oh, I'm relaxed and comfortable. I'm a conservative bloke stuck in the 50s.